What is up guys, my name is Chase, welcome back to another video. So this is finally going to be the little video about my 2008 trip to California. And in case you don't know, I went on a little trip to California from May 24th to May 30th, 2018. So we got to the airport on May 24th at around 8:30 at night. We had a red-eye flight from Hawaii to California. So by the time we actually got to LAX, it was around 6 in the morning or so, which I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't too big a fan of. We were on the plane the entire night and we had a whole day ahead of us, but of course, you know, it was still fun. We went to the Grove and did some shopping. There's also like a farmer's market across the street. That was pretty much the entire day activity. We stayed at a hotel in Santa Monica, which I am completely forgetting the name of right now. But anyway, by the time the room was ready, it was around, I believe, 4 o'clock in the evening. So we got our hotel rooms and we walked across the 3rd Street Promenade, which I was honestly really excited to visit, pretty much only because there is an Apple store where I, Justine, waited 3 days in line for the iPhone 6. So I was honestly just excited to go visit that famous landmark. The next day we went to Universal Studios, and I guess I should have prefaced this with saying that I haven't been to California in almost 10 years at this point. I was really excited to go back to Universal Studios and Disneyland for the first time in forever. Anyway, Universal was fun. I finally got to see the whole world of Harry Potter, because back when I went, I believe it was Dr. Seuss, if I'm not mistaken. So it was really cool to see that. We rode The Walking Dead, Minions, Transformers, Jurassic Park, the tram tour. We did that little roller coaster in Harry Potter World, and the actual ride inside of the castle, which by the way, I think that Harry Potter ride might be my new favorite ride at Universal. I just really loved how they incorporated practical effects with sort of digital screens and stuff. It was really cool. Anyway, of course, we had to go to Olive Garden because we don't have an Olive Garden here in Hawaii, so that was great. The next day we went to the Santa Monica Pier, which I was also really excited about because, you know, I've seen the Santa Monica Pier a bunch of times in different YouTubers' videos. We rode the Ferris wheel, you know, it was fun times. And then the next day, which would have been May 28th, it was pretty much the day that I was waiting for because we finally get to go to Disneyland. We stayed at the hotel that's in like the California Adventure Park, which was really nice. Like a lot of the memories I have of Disneyland, we had to like ride a tram into the park and stuff. Staying at the hotel meant that we could just, you know, go downstairs and already be at Disneyland. So the tickets we got were the 1 park per day. So the first day we did California Adventure Park. Unfortunately, they were still working on Pixar Pier, which I was just so bummed about. California Screamin', which they turned into the Incredicoaster. That ride is like my favorite ride at Disneyland. I'm an adrenaline junkie, so like I love scary things like that. I actually have to give a shout out to Kira if you're watching. A friend of mine told me about the Max Pass where you can get the fast passes on your phone. It was so helpful during the day, so thanks Kira. But with the Max Pass, you can sort of schedule when your fast pass times are. So throughout the day we rode, I think it was actually the first thing we rode at Disneyland was the Rapids. That one is always like a classic one. We did the Goofy roller coaster. I'm trying to think what else we did, but I guess since Pixar Pier was like under construction, we actually didn't do too much. So anyway, for dinner we actually went to a little place that I recommended, and the only reason I sort of recommended it was because of Kinda Funny Greg Miller. We went to Portillo's Hot Dogs. I got a chili cheese dog, an Italian beef, the cheese fries, and the chocolate cake shake. It was super awesome, super great. The Italian beef sandwich was one of the best sandwiches I've ever eaten in my life. And then later in the night we finally went to Cars Land, since like that was the only time they had available for the fast passes, which actually worked out because, you know, everybody has been saying that Cars Land looks the best at night. So that was really cool, and it did look really cool at night with all like the neon lights and stuff. And by the way, like I'm a huge fan of Cars. Cars was, I think, the second Pixar movie that I got just obsessed about. The first being Ratatouille. Ratatouille is a classic for me. I loved the first Cars movie, you know, I bought all the toys and stuff, and I was just like so mesmerized because the last time I was at Disneyland they were still building Cars Land, so this was the first time I finally got to see Cars Land. The Cars ride was really fun. I know a lot of my family members were saying that that was their favorite ride. I got to meet Lightning McQueen, which was really cool. That was something I wanted to try to do as much as I possibly could during this trip. I've always been afraid of like mascots and stuff at amusement parks and stuff. So this time around, I wanted to try my best to get pictures just because I feel like I missed out during my childhood. And plus the Max Pass gives you like unlimited free photos, so that was actually really, really cool. After the Cars ride, we went on the new Guardians of the Galaxy ride, which is just like a new skin for the Tower of Terror. And it was actually really cool. Once again, I loved how they sort of incorporated digital effects into that ride, and I love like free falling stuff, so that was really fun. When we got out of the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, like all the freaking sidewalks were closed off and stuff because the light parade was coming, and since I think it was Pixar Fest, so it was a lot of like Pixar characters. They had Toy Story and stuff. Then the next day we actually went to Disneyland. This was the first time I went to Disneyland, after becoming a Star Wars fan. Like in the past, we always rode Star Tours and it was fun and stuff, but I never really understood what the hell was going on. They actually changed Star Tours this time around. It's themed after like The Last Jedi and stuff. Actually, kind of a funny story. We went in line to Space Mountain, which, is always just a crazy, ridiculous line. And like halfway through the line, everyone starts walking back and we come to find out that they closed down the ride, which was really sad. I've seen this happen to a few people and I've always felt sad for them, and now I actually have first-hand experience. So it took a while for us to ride Space Mountain. In the meantime, I went to, I think it's called like the Star Wars launch bay. They have a bunch of like Star Wars memorabilia and stuff. I got to meet Rey, which was really cool. Looking at the picture now, I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't really look anything like Daisy Ridley, but still, she's pretty and stuff. I think it was a really good Rey. I guess you could call it a cosplay. So we go back to Space Mountain, it's opened back up. Actually, when we went, it was Hyperspace Mountain. From what I understand, every time there's a new Star Wars movie, they like change up Space Mountain to Hyperspace Mountain, and it's themed after Star Wars. We also went on the Haunted Mansion ride, which was actually the first time I ever been on the Haunted Mansion ride. I was always scared as a kid to go on it. And once again, I feel like Disneyland as a whole is just, it's almost a showcase of how they can make such cool practical effects, especially on like the Haunted Mansion ride. It's just really cool. I love Disneyland. We also went on Indiana Jones, which I feel like was pretty much the first time I ever been on Indiana Jones, because when I went to Disneyland as a kid, I would always close my eyes on Indiana Jones just because I was so scared. Unfortunately, when we were there, the Pirates of the Caribbean ride was closed. Anyway, fast forward to the nighttime, we went on It's a Small World. I mean, no matter how many times I go on that ride, it's always fun to just go on it again. I don't think I could ever get sick of going on that ride. Especially now, I feel like I can really appreciate just how cute it is, and it just makes me happy. Then following It's a Small World, we got to catch the fireworks show, which I forget what it's called, but it's changed for the Pixar Fest. Oh, I think it's called Together Forever. But anyway, it was all Pixar themed, which was really cool. Really nostalgic for me, just because I honestly watched more Pixar as a kid than classic Disney. Like, so they had pretty much different segments for all of the different Pixar movies that involved, friends and stuff. That was sort of the theme of the whole show, was just, different friends together. But once Cars came on, of course they played Life is a Highway, and I honestly started crying. Cars was such a big part of my childhood, so it was just, I don't know, it was so cool to see it in the fireworks show and stuff at Disneyland. I'm getting a bit teary thinking about it right now. Anyway, pretty much the only reason we were even at the park that late at night was just because the only opening for fast passes they had for Splash Mountain was at like 10 o'clock at night. I also got my picture like in front of the Mickey Mouse garden thing that's at the opening of Disneyland, and now it's like one of my favorite pictures ever. I love Disneyland and I miss it so much. Anyway, on our final day, we did a little thing called Star Wars Secrets of the Empire at the Void. You may or may not have heard about this. I heard about it online, and my friend was telling me about it. Thanks, Kira, again. But it's like this completely immersive VR experience where you put on like a VR headset, you put on a backpack, and you just kind of walk through this little like maze almost. And it's pretty much like a 4D experience almost. There's a part where like you're walking on top of lava, and if you look down, you can actually like feel the heat coming up. Actually, kind of a funny story. There's a part where you're supposed to grab a gun, like there's like a rack with a bunch of guns on it. And like going into this, I honestly kind of knew what was gonna happen just because I've heard stories about it online and stuff. I knew that we were gonna have to pick up a gun eventually, but for some stupid reason, I didn't pick up the gun. We got killed. We had to restart the whole thing over again. The guy said that it happens every so often where, they have to restart, but I kind of feel like he was lying because it was a stupid mistake. For some reason, like there was no audio cue or anything to pick up the gun, but the second time around, there was use an audio cue to pick up the gun. So I don't know, I feel like there was kind of a glitch or something. Anyway, it's really cool because, you know, there's the shelf with all of the guns. They tell you to pick up the gun and, you know, you actually pick up the gun and it feels like a gun. And when you shoot, you know, it feels like the gun is actually shooting and you see your shot being fired to the stupid little stormtroopers in the background and stuff. Like, this was honestly the first time I've ever tried VR, and it was just completely immersive, and it was honestly kind of crazy. There is actually that little bit of fear where they tell you to walk across this really narrow bridge, and it is like your brain is telling you not to because you could fall off and stuff. So it's just crazy how immersive it is, you know. I think it was like $30 or something. It's in downtown Disney and I highly recommend it. But I think that finally wraps up the California vlog. I'm looking at the time code now and I've been talking for 30 minutes, so I'm probably gonna hate myself while I'm editing this, but it's finally done. That is my 2018 trip to California. There's also a video where I talk about all of the swag that I picked up from Disneyland that you can kind of see in the front here. So make sure you go check out that video. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my silly little stories. I will talk to you again soon. Bye.